Hey friend, this week I wanted to share my personal experience with something you might be struggling with as well, and that is the reality of mental fatigue. Hi, I'm Kate Glasheen, and as a teacher, coach, wife, friend, daughter, and human being, I'm tired. You can learn more about the coach and teacher part at kateglasheen.com, and if you enjoyed today's video, please like and subscribe below. Let's get started. I've never doubted the reality of mental fatigue, but I don't think I've ever experienced it so tangibly and so consistently as I have since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. The upside is that I've learned how to recognize and address it better than I ever have before. In general, mental fatigue is caused when you have too many decisions to make, too many projects demanding your attention, and not enough downtime for your brain. That last bit is really important because while we're often aware of when we have too much going on, we also tend to associate the need for rest only with physical exertion. But just because you've been at your desk all day or you never left the house doesn't mean your brain hasn't been working non-stop. In fact, on average, your brain activity accounts for 20% of the amount of energy you expend in a day, and that's just for basic function on a regular day. For an organ that only makes up 2% of your body weight, that is a significant amount of energy. Due to my personality and the nature of my job, it's not uncommon for me to have a lot of large projects to manage all at once, but I'm usually pretty good at that. I'm organized, I am a world-class list maker, and I have the good fortune to love what I do. But here's why I think it's been a little different lately. Adjusting to the pandemic has eaten up a lot of my mental and emotional bandwidth. Like so many, I've had to totally adjust the way I do my job, so even things that I can do in my sleep are taking a lot more energy and focus. With so much happening online, the amount of electronic communication I receive is overwhelming, and so I'm having to rapidly switch focus, which also drains your brain. I no longer even have the walk across campus or down the hall to the classroom or a colleague's office to kind of rest my brain between switching tasks. Even personal connection, which is so important to our health and wellness, is more taxing than usual because it's happening online, and now there's the digital back and forth of Zoom links and scheduling and what platform do we use. It just takes more effort. And on top of all that, living in the uncertainty of this novel virus with new protocols and our desires to keep each other safe but have some semblance of normalcy, it's just exhausting. Some, if not all of this, might also be true for you. But how did I know it was mental fatigue? What are the symptoms? Well, you might still feel physically tired even in the absence of physical activity. You might be easily distracted or have a hard time concentrating on a project or task. You might also be more irritable or have more erratic emotional responses than what you're used to or what's typical for you. I've personally experienced all of these symptoms, and I've also become really attuned to a specific sensation. I sometimes feel like I have a fuzziness in my head that's not a headache, or I think I'm feeling my brain moving as I'm trying to bring thoughts together. Now, this makes no sense anatomically, and mental fatigue may manifest very differently for you, but that's what it feels like for me, and when I recognize this, I know it's time for a break. Powering through is just going to result in work that I'm going to end up redoing anyway, or make me really frustrated and maybe cry. So what do? What do I do? Well, I first had to recognize that this was a real thing, that mental fatigue is just as real and just as legitimate as physical fatigue. And that means it also requires real action. First, try to reduce the number of decisions you have to make in a day. Whether it's eating the same breakfast every morning or laying your clothes out the night before, having fewer decisions to make frees up your mental energy. Next, take some time to simplify your digital life. Unsubscribe from anything you don't need. Store emails, platforms you rarely visit, services you don't really use anymore. If it's a cause you care about or a store you love to shop at, you're going to find that again without the barrage of emails. Next, take breaks of all shapes and sizes. Whatever you're working on, get up a couple of times an hour to stretch or get outside and breathe some fresh air, and then make some time for physical activity throughout the week. I've actually found that I do some of my best creative thinking when I'm out for a walk. It's become my go-to tactic if I'm experiencing writer's block or I need to solve a problem. And I did have to get over whether or not I cared if people saw me talking to myself, so just take that into consideration. It's also important to get comfortable saying no. This past fall, I had 8 major projects happening, and I had to say no or later to some things that came my way just to preserve my mental health. Dealing with mental fatigue requires the paradox of caring for yourself through discipline. Creating and sticking to a routine to eliminate decisions, clearing out the clutter, scheduling breaks and downtime, and learning to say no all require discipline. Hopefully, the fruits of your labor will be a more manageable workload, personal time for you and your loved ones, and a greater sense of physical, mental, and emotional well-being.